This is Mac OS Ken.
7 days of record high closes, Apple wants more iPhones ready, and spyware warnings for high-value targets. It is Thursday, the 11th of July, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. 7 trading sessions, 7 record high closes for Apple. Shares in the Cupertino company ended the day up $4.30, finishing at $232.98. While Microsoft also gained on the day, Apple was able to hold on to its most valuable status. The company currently has a market cap of $3.573 trillion. Apparently helping to spur Apple shares on Wednesday was a report from Bloomberg on the next anticipated iPhone launch. Mac Rumors has the site saying that Apple is looking to ship a minimum of 90 million iPhone 16 models in 2024. That's up from the roughly 81 million iPhone 15s Apple shipped last year, an increase of about 10%. Driving the anticipated increase, I'll give you 3 guesses. According to the report, Apple is expecting Apple Intelligence to increase demand for the new iPhone 16 models, which indicates that Apple could see a strong 2024, especially in countries like China. Apple is lagging behind Chinese smartphone manufacturers in AI development, according to the report, as brands like Xiaomi and Huawei have already shipped AI features. Of course, the piece points out that there's no telling how Apple Intelligence will work in China, since the Cupertino company has set up no integration with an LLM in China. OpenAI's ChatGPT, with which Apple has partnered, is not able to operate in the Middle Kingdom, according to the report. So, missing a marquee feature in China and the European Union. The piece reminds readers of Apple's indication last month that it needs more time to figure out how to make Apple Intelligence compatible with the requirements of the Digital Markets Act in the EU. Still, most people who want the parts of Apple Intelligence they can get will need a new iPhone. The only phones out today that can handle Apple's AI offerings are last year's iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max. Another firm has raised its price target on Apple, though the analysts behind it say it's not about iPhone and it's not about AI. Well, it might be about AI, but in a roundabout way. Barron's had Needham analysts Laura Martin and Funky Dan Medina applauding Apple's plans to buy back more shares while its competitors spend beaucoup bucks on generative AI. Also, they believe Apple should build an advertising business just like Amazon has. They like this idea for 3 reasons. Spending on mobile advertising is expected to hit $500 billion this year, which I guess they think Apple could just nab or something. Ad margins tend to be 70% to 80%, which would bolster margin expansion without requiring price hikes on products. And they could sell ads on Apple TV+. I wasn't going to bring this up, but Needham's Martin is the one who for years has brought the argument that Apple needs to buy Disney. I'm not saying Apple can't make the ad thing work. I'm not even saying that Apple couldn't make the Disney thing work. It just might be worth remembering when considering her conviction. Anyway, Martin and Medina are excited about buybacks and the possibility of Apple making bigger waves in advertising. Needham's got a buy rating on Apple shares. The analysts used Wednesday's note to raise their price target on the shares from $220 to $260. While they don't agree on the exact numbers, 3 of the biggest market trackers do agree that Apple saw the most growth globally in traditional computers for the second quarter of this year. I told you yesterday of a report from Canalys that had Mac shipments growing 6% in the June quarter versus the same quarter a year earlier. That was the largest growth for any tracked PC maker, according to the firm. Standing in agreement for competing market trackers Gartner and IDC, Gartner had Mac shipments growing 13.1% last quarter versus the same quarter a year ago, better than any other vendor, while IDC had Mac shipments growing 20.8%. Also, like Canalys, Gartner and IDC both expect AI PCs to push growth for the sector higher in the coming quarters. The big beta testing party rolls on for both public testers and developers. Starting on the developer side, a piece from Mac Rumors says Apple on Wednesday seeded the third beta of macOS Sequoia to members of the program. That was a couple of days after the third developer betas of iOS 18, watchOS 11, and all that stuff coming out this fall. Additionally, just one day after developers got access to betas of updates for Apple's current OS offerings, other pieces from Mac Rumors say public testers are getting in on the action. They got access Wednesday to the third betas of iOS and iPadOS 17.6, as well as macOS Sonoma 14.6. Members of Apple's public beta program can give those a go now. Info on that program is available at beta.apple.com. An unknown number of people in a growing number of countries has received a warning from Apple. Somebody is trying to spy on you. TechCrunch says the Cupertino company has issued a new round of threat notifications to iPhone users across 98 countries, warning them of potential mercenary spyware attacks. What makes Apple think so? Well, the company chooses not to say, since saying might give attackers clues to avoiding detection in the future. Seriously, though, take it seriously. According to the company's message to potential targets, Apple detected that you are being targeted by a mercenary spyware attack that is trying to remotely compromise the iPhone associated with your Apple ID. The attack is likely targeting you specifically because of who you are or what you do. Although it's never possible to achieve absolute certainty when detecting such attacks, Apple has high confidence in this warning. Please take it seriously. The piece says this week's warnings, the second set this year, did not indicate who was targeting the targets, nor which countries the targets were in. That said, India seems to be on the map. Individuals on the subcontinent report having received the warnings, according to TechCrunch. Not the first time that's happened. In October, says the report, Apple sent similar warnings to several journalists and politicians in India. Amnesty International, a human rights advocacy group, later reported discovering the presence of Pegasus, a highly invasive spyware developed by Israeli firm NSO Group, on the iPhones of prominent Indian journalists. That caused a bit of a stir between Apple and India. It also seems to have prompted a slight softening in the warnings. Apple used to refer to such incidents as state-sponsored attacks, not mercenary spyware attacks, as it does today. You know what stinks about smart initiatives? When they suddenly turn dumb. A piece from Apple Insider says Florida has temporarily suspended support for its digital driver's license app. Not only has the Sunshine State removed its digital driver's license application from both the App Store and the Google Play Store, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles has also told users to delete the current Florida Smart ID app from their devices, as it will no longer be functional. If you're wondering why, yeah, you get to keep doing that. Highway safety people issued a short statement to Smart ID users, saying the department is working to enhance services to its customers. The agency will be revising the Florida Smart ID application. Once a new vendor is selected, improvements will be made to it. At this time, the department is removing the current Florida Smart ID application from app stores. If you have downloaded the app, please delete it from your device, as it will no longer be functional. Please note your data remains secure with the department. We expect the new app to be developed by early 2025 and will notify you by email at that time. To be clear, this has nothing to do with digital IDs in Apple Wallet. Florida went its own way for the highway, according to the report. Turns out that Apple fellow Phil Schiller will not be hanging around the OpenAI board, and neither will anybody from Microsoft. According to a report from the Financial Times, Microsoft has given up its seat as an observer on the board of OpenAI, while Apple will not take up a similar position amid growing scrutiny by global regulators of big tech's investments in AI startups. Rather than them warming the bench on the board, the report says OpenAI will host regular meetings with partners such as Microsoft and Apple and investors, part of a new approach to informing and engaging key strategic partners. And finally today, if you have been wondering when the next season of the dystopian workplace drama Severance will hit Apple TV+, the answer was revealed on Wednesday. May not make you happy, though. After telegraphing a likely announcement via Morse code on Tuesday, Engadget says the Cupertino streamer released a teaser Wednesday. That puts the Season 2 premiere on the 17th of January, 2025. The show debuted on the 18th of February, 2022. So nearly 3 years between season premieres. Ask me why I keep binging old shows. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.